Do you owe student loans? Well, they're coming for you. And as someone who's had student loans and paid them off, and someone who has kids in college and has student loans and they're getting ready to start paying up, or they are paying them off, I've got a lot of mixed emotions. Now, we've talked about this subject in the past when it first came up, when Linda McMahon, again, I'm not sure what qualifies her to be the Secretary of Education, but there she is. When she and President Trump decided to say, May 5th is a deadline. If you owe money on your student loans, we're going to put you into collection. What does that mean? It means that if they want to, they can garnish your wages. It means if they want to, and they are going to take it out of your Social Security benefits. If you are receiving Social Security benefits, imagine that. Like, you're on Social Security and like it's hard enough just living off of Social Security. Now a chunk of that's going to go away because you owe that money. They will take it out of your tax refund. Oh, I'm getting a tax refund this year. Nope. No, you're not. Now let's begin with this. Depending on what news source you watch, right? If I watch Fox News, this is a free giveaway from the Biden administration. The liberals just want to make everybody else pay for somebody else's school. They turn it into this culture issue, right? This culture war issue. All right, I get that, how that can appeal to people emotionally. You see people out there going, I didn't go to college and why should I pay for somebody else's college? Well, you're not. Folks, you're not. Let's just move past this one. If they decided to wipe out $1 trillion or $2 trillion that it almost is in debt and say, we forgive all this debt, your taxes aren't going up. They're not. You want to know how I know this? Because when they decided to wipe out over $1.5 trillion in debt, by giving away that much money in 2008 during the Great Recession, my taxes didn't go up. They didn't go up. The government's done this many, many times. They've given away these obscene amounts of money for different reasons, bailouts, things like that. It's happened. And I didn't see my taxes go up, and I was paying attention, especially during the Great Recession, right? So that's just a culture war. So if you're out there and you're getting this emotionally charged feeling, or you're feeling guilty that maybe like if this did happen, oh, I don't want somebody to, that is just the emotional appeal that one side of the media is trying to get you to feel. Okay? And again, I'm someone who did pay off student loans from my undergraduate, and no, it doesn't make me go, oh, well, shit, I paid off mine. You should pay off yours. Here's the deal, folks. All right? Oh, man, I just sounded like Joe Biden. I didn't mean to sound like that. I apologize. We've been told a lot of mixed messages when it comes to higher education, especially over the last two administrations, the first Trump and then the Biden administration. And we get told a lot of mixed messages when growing up, even from kindergarten on. You got to get good grades so you can get into a good college. And getting a degree is how you get that good life. And now we're being told, and we're told that all along the way. We're told that all along the way, the goal is to get, kids have anxiety and panic attacks at age 16, wondering, oh God, what college am I going to get into? I don't have the grade. What am I going to do? Okay. And we put all this pressure on kids to do these things, to get these grades, to get into these schools. And then we say, well, you can't afford these schools, but hey, here's this loan we could take out. Yeah, you're not old enough to buy a beer, but you're old enough to sign your name on this, that it's going to put you in debt for tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, for decades to come for the rest of your life. Okay, so I can't buy that beer and drink it in my own home, but I can sign this piece of paper for this American dream that you've been telling me that I must have, that's going to basically put me in financial enslavement for the next 20 to 30 years. Great. And I have to hope and be lucky enough that the economy is good enough that people are hiring the jobs for the degree that I want to get. Awesome. So I'm rolling the dice, I'm gambling, I'm signing away my life, and I'm putting myself under the thumb of financial hardship. Awesome. Okay, good. I just want to know that that's exactly what it is, folks. That's exactly what it is. And yes, we should have more trade school options, and we should encourage more trade school options with kids nowadays. And I think we are doing that now. But what about for the 10 million people that are going to be behind on their student loans for whatever reason? Because right now it's around 5 million. As of today, it's going to put another 5 million on that docket. It's going to be 10 million Americans who are going to go into collection. Not just 10 million Americans that owe money for student loans that are able to pay it off, right? We're not talking about the people who are current, who are lucky enough to be current. We're talking about the people who are delinquent in some way, whether it's 90 days, 280 days, whatever it might be. There's different tiers and levels of these things. So we're going to have roughly 10 million borrowers within a few months, according to the Trump administration, that are in default. 10 million Americans that are in default. And 10 million Americans that are going to have their wages garnished, or they're going to have their Social Security benefits garnished. They're going to have their disability. God forbid their disability, because the rule is what they were talking about. They're going to go after any state or federal income first. Disability counts as state and federal income. Imagine that you're on disability, right? You're going along, everything was going great. Now you're on disability because of what? Whatever reason. Now, okay, F you, we want our money. Okay, I get it, right? I get that part. Well, they want their money, but it just doesn't make sense anymore. This is, we talk about national security issues. We talk about the debt crisis. We talk about all that stuff. $2 trillion in student loan debt seems like a pretty interesting thing to be able to say, you know what? I want to improve the economy. How do I do that? Well, I want people to spend more money. Well, how do I do that? I don't know, eliminate debt. I mean, it's simple. Like, if you and I are sitting at the kitchen table and we're looking at our finances and we're saying, hey, I want to be more financial. I want to be able to spend more money on the things I want, be able to purchase more, buy better food, whatever it is, buy a car, I don't know, paint my wall, whatever, right? But I got all this debt. So you got to get rid of the debt first, and then you can be financially viable. Well, I mean, we're going to look at some, by the way, also the argument that, doctors and lawyers and rich people, that's not who these, I'm not paying for these doctors who make money, they can pay their own. That's not who we're talking about here. The doctors aren't the people in default. The doctors aren't the people who are delinquent. The lawyers, all that. That's not what we're talking about. That's a small percentage of people who take out student loans, and most likely they're able to pay them back later on. The federal government has extraordinary collection powers on its student loans and can seize borrowers' tax refunds, their paychecks, Social Security retirement, and disability benefits. There it is. Actually, I just read it. I said it. Now I read it. There it is. That's scary. That's scary, because the reality in America is this: you're one crisis away from being bankrupt. Most families are. You're one medical crisis away from being bankrupt. You're one car repair being away from not being able to buy food. Most people live paycheck to paycheck. Most 401ks were borrowed against over the last 5 years, especially during the pandemic, because people couldn't make ends meet. And that's what the economy was doing okay. Stock market was up. It was okay. It ain't okay. We're basically, companies are acting. We're going to get to another article that relates to this, because companies are already acting as if it's a recession. We've already had 1 quarter of negative growth. Who thinks that this quarter is not going to be negative growth? Of course it is. We're going to have 2 quarters of straight negative growth. What is that the definition of? It's a definition of a recession, people. We're in a recession. People can't find jobs. There was an article my son sent me, and I wish I still had it. And it was last year or the year before, the entire graduating class of Harvard's business school for postgraduates were unable to find work in the field in which they were getting their degrees in. We're not talking, these are baristas, they always say, the barista with the DEI degree. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about people who went to one of the most prestigious business schools in the world and got degrees in economics or business management or whatever that might be. And they cannot find jobs with their degrees. Something is very wrong, all right? And the reason is because companies are acting like it's a recession. So now we're going to say to these students, hey, we want our money back. Yeah, you can't find a job. I get it. Too bad. So sad. Whatever. You're in a recession. Good luck starting life out that way. Oh, you wanted to save to probably buy a house one day? Ain't going to happen. Oh, you wanted to save up to maybe, move to a different area of the country that, maybe is more prosperous? Ain't going to happen. Oh, you wanted to save up early for retirement. So when you're, 65 or 55 or whatever time you want to retire, you can do so comfortably knowing that your golden years will be covered. Ain't going to happen. But that's where we're at. And that's what these student loans, and that's what the timing of these student loans and the psychology of these student loans are going to do to this generation, the generation that is, I'm Gen X, right? I guess is what this, I get confused all the time. There's Gen Y, there's millennials, there's Gen Z, there's, I don't know, Zoomers. I don't know what the frick a Zoomer is, but okay. Those people, they're screwed. 6 ways to Sunday. Okay, screwed 6 ways to Sunday. People out there with good degrees, they can't get the jobs they want, right? So let's get into this article a little bit. The U.S. Department of Education is set to restart collection efforts on defaulted student loans on Monday, putting millions of borrowers at risk of wage garnishment and other consequences. Now, did Biden have the power to do what he said he was going to do? No. Congress sure does. How do I know this? I watched it in 2008. I'm going to keep going back to the Great Recession, right? And then people are going to say, well, these people, they signed their names. They made their bed. They're lying in it. Well, guess what? The banks that failed did a lot of illegal shit before 2008 happened to cause 2008 to happen. Did anyone go to jail? No. Did these banks have to be held accountable? No. Yeah, sure, they sat in front of Congress and got grilled, but they don't give a shit. 10 minutes after those hearings ended, they're on their private jets, having their meals, all that, going back. I mean, TARP alone, the TARP bill alone was $1 trillion, right? It wasn't exactly $1 trillion because psychologically, the Secretary of the Treasurer and Nancy Pelosi got together and says, we can't do $1 trillion. We'll do 900 million because $1 trillion just sounds bad. But they still gave all that money away to these banks. Why didn't they have to be held accountable? Why couldn't they say, hey, you signed your name on a dollar and you did all this crap that you shouldn't have? They were handing out, I'll give you an idea of what went wrong in 2008. They were doing things like ninja loans, ninja mortgages. This was a thing. What's a ninja loan? No income, no job. Oh, that's fine. Go ahead and sign your name on the line. We'll give you a mortgage. And they could do this to people who couldn't speak English, who just came over to the country. They wanted the American dream. That's all they knew. Yeah, sign your name. All those people that, and then the regular people that signed their name thinking they were getting a great mortgage, getting their bullshit lied to, right? And then they had their balloon payment came up and they couldn't afford it. And okay, I didn't know this was going to happen this way. They lost their houses. People still lost their houses. It's not like we gave $1 trillion away to the banks and the banks are like, yeah, everybody keep your house. No, everybody got foreclosed on. People living in the streets. It was terrible. It's horrible. It was devastating. But we saved the banks. And what did they do with that $1 trillion? Did they give it back to the people that lost their money? Did they hire back all the people that lost their jobs? Lost their 401ks? When these banks went under, and these other real estate companies went under and things like that, people lost their pensions that they had worked for years. People have been there 20, 30 years. They lost their pensions. They're like, sorry, here's the door, here's the box, put your shit in it and get out. No pension, your 401k, gone, because the market crashed to shit. But we still gave $1 trillion away to these banks. It's the greatest wealth transfer theft, I call it, in history, and it happened live on TV. And it was nothing no one could do about it because the government was all in on it. Right? Started with Bush, went to Obama, both of them, they didn't do nothing about it. Either or. They still continue to do it. But for some reason, student loans, that's the hot button issue, right? People, regular, ordinary, everybody, doesn't benefit the banks, right? That doesn't benefit the banks. Doesn't benefit the colleges because it's all government. It's all government debt, right? Government just forgive their debt. Right? Government loves debt. Government loves it when they have other people in debt, right? They have other countries in debt, right? We loan money to other countries. They're in debt. We're in debt to other countries. It's just the whole cycle of debt. They love it. But again, no problem giving away $1.5 trillion to banks who then went and used it. Like a lot of these people gave their executive bonuses with this money, brought them all on lavish vacations with this money. They even called them in front of Congress, and said, hey, you told us this wasn't going to happen. Yeah, it happened. Oh, yeah, we got bonuses. Oh, yeah, $1 million bonuses. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had company retreats. We brought all our executives down to, Paradise Island. We all spent the week there just chilling on the beach, drinking, getting massages, and, hanging out by the pool. Meanwhile, the people that were supposed to be getting helped, the regular, ordinary Americans, they're living in their car at a gas station. But apparently, not with student loans. Can't do that with student loans. Not going to hurt you, people. Believe me, it wouldn't hurt you. Your taxes aren't going to go up. You ain't going to lose a dime. Defense Department, they lost $1 trillion. They can't figure out where it went. Yeah, they did their audit. They did their audit for their money. $1 trillion. They can't figure out where it went. That's half the student loan. They cannot account for $1 trillion spent. But apparently, the poor bastard that's trying to get a degree to make his life better, who's been told this is the American dream, these are the steps you have to follow. Yes, you're not even 18 yet, but sign on a dotted line to put yourself in debt for the rest of your life. They're the enemy. They're the bad guy. Listen, I'm a conservative and I'm a Republican, but that's bullshit. That stinks. That is bullshit. But let's take a look at the demographics. Let's also take a look at the demographics of what a student loan is, of who is actually borrowing and where and when. So you get a reality check, right? Because it's not the doctors and the lawyers you're bailing out, right? Even though, again, government's okay with bailing out big banks with people who are CEOs are making $40 million paychecks each year. That's okay. But this is where we're going to stand our ground as a U.S. government. So let's get into this. Let me pull up these stats. Yeah, student loan borrowers in default begin facing debt collections. Yep, there's Linda McMahon. There she is. Somebody asked her about her husband and the SEC violations, for the businesses that he's created. But yet she's in charge of education. She was the CEO of companies that are now under investigation for violation of SEC violations. Never mind human trafficking violations. But yep, there she is. She's a hero. The American taxpayers will no longer be forced to serve as collateral for irresponsible student loan policies. Really? We served as collateral for when big banks stole trillions of dollars from us. Again, bullshit, folks. This is bullshit. All this is bullshit. It's made to just divide people and keep people fighting with each other instead of going, hey, government, what the hell are you doing? And that's exactly what happens, right? When there's an issue like this, they like to say, okay, how do we pit one side against the other? So they're fighting with each other and paying attention to each other instead of paying attention to the real issue. Okay, let's talk about the real issue. This is the Education Data Initiative. This is a research firm. They do all sorts of data collection on this subject, along with other educational subjects. The outstanding federal student loan balance as of right now is $1.693 trillion. But no, that's not a national security issue. Hollywood making movies in the United Kingdom, national security issue. Really? This isn't? I would say this is more of a priority right now. All right? Federal student loan debt represents 92.2% of all student loan debt. Wow. You could wipe out 92% of all student loan with an act of Congress. The average federal student loan debt balance is $38,375, while the total average balance, including private loans, may be as high as $41,000. 4.86% of federal student loan dollars were in default. The U.S. government itself is in default. We barely pay the interest on our own debt every year. We have to keep raising the debt ceiling just so we can pay, right? But screw the students. Screw the students. right. Student loan debt statistics. All right. And it goes, by the way, it's disproportionate. We're going to see this by race categories, but it's disproportionate towards women, slightly. It's disproportionate towards middle class children. So it's not the rich that are suffering. It's women, middle class, both men and women. And we're going to get into race in a second because it's really disappointing. You could actually call this a racial issue if you wanted to. Liberals love playing the race card. Play it here because it actually works here. It actually makes sense here when you see the stats. Total student loan debt increased 47, almost 48 billion in 2024. Why? Interest. Federal student loan debt increased 36.4 billion, representing 75.9% of the year-over-year increase in all student loans, federal and private. So it's incredible how much money. Again, you're 17. This is the American dream. This is what you're supposed to do. This is what you've been working your whole life for. This is all the pressure. Get your good grades, all this. Go to a good school. Get in the clubs. Do your sports. All that. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, sorry, you didn't get a scholarship? Well, here, sign on the dotted line. You too can have the American dream. And again, as I said the other day, and I credit this to George Carlin, one of my favorites, if not my favorite stand-up comedian, the American dream is just that, folks, because you got to be asleep to believe it. Especially when you're in debt for the first 20, 30 years of your life. When you can't get the job you want and you can't pay off your regular bills and your one medical bill or your one car payment or your one whatever crisis away or financial hardship away from being bankrupt and being behind the eight ball because you're already living paycheck to paycheck. But again, the big banks, we had to rush. We did it in record time, didn't even read the bill. 2008, 3 days. Within 3 days, they had a bill ready. $1 trillion for the banks. What about the people who are losing their houses? Screw them. We're going to save the banks. No, we can't let the banks fail. We'll let the ordinary everyday, because those, there'll be more people. There'll be more people. If they die on the street, they're poor, they have a shitty life, whatever. Don't matter. There'll be more of those. We'll have more. Can't let the banks die. Shit, they pay for our elections. That wasn't tongue-in-cheek either, that one. All right, borrower statistics. 20% of all American adults with undergraduate degrees have outstanding student debt. 24% with postgraduate degree holders report outstanding student loans. 20% of U.S. adults report having paid off their student loan debt. Only the 5-year annual average student loan debt growth rate is 1.66%. 1.66% of $1.7 trillion is a shitload of money, folks. So 1.66% might be like, oh, well, see, it doesn't grow that much. It's not growing. Really? If I offered you to hand you a check for 1.66% of $1.7 trillion, you'd be happier than a pig in a pie. All right? So let's get to our race statistics. This will piss you off. At least it'll piss off some of you. Black and African-American college graduates owe an average of $25,000 more in student loan debt than white college graduates. 4 years after graduation, black students owe an average of 188% more than white students borrowed. Black and African-American students borrowers are the most likely to struggle financially due to student loan debt, making monthly payments of just $258 because they're struggling, because most people are struggling right now. Asian college graduates are the fastest to repay their loan debt and the most likely to earn a higher salary to help pay for student loan debt. Good for them. Bachelor's degree, associate's degree. Bachelor's in blue, associate's in red. White and Caucasian. Okay, federal student loans for associate's and bachelor's degree holders, all right? 59% of white and Caucasian students have to have student loans of some kind. 81% black and African-American students have to have student loans. 60% Hispanic and Latino. Asians, only 39%. American Indian and Alaskan Natives, 65% of them need to take out student loans. And then 63% multiracial. There's some skewed numbers here, folks. There's some skewed numbers. So we talk about equity, equality, all that stuff. And I know I don't like to talk about DEI because I think the way DEI is done is bullshit. But the way you look at this, go, okay, there's some equality issues going on here. Okay? Let's not lie to each other. let's not, I'm not going to piss on your leg and say it's raining, right? There's some equality issues here. Even, as callous as I can be sometimes, even I can look at that and go, something ain't right. Black and African-American bachelor's degree holders have an average of $52,726 in student loan debt. Holy shit. Imagine that. 22, 21 years old, whatever it is, you just got out of college. I got my bachelor's degree. Yay. Here's your debt. Average of $52,000, $53,000. Do you think you'd want to go to graduate school right away after that? Be like, you can go to graduate school now and take on more loans and more debt. Hopefully you get the job you want. Otherwise you can, learn the phrase, do you want fries with that, and then never be able to pay off your student loans. Have your credit score ruined? Have your wages garnished? Wonder what the hell you did that for in the first place, what it was good for. I mean, you get told your whole life. Again, American dream. Sign on a dotted line. Isn't that a scam? I mean, the Trump administration called college a scam. Shouldn't they be looking at this going, wow, look at all these people who got scammed into this debt. We should help them out. No. They're saying screw them. But wait a minute, you told me it was a scam. Shouldn't you help me out if it's a scam? If it was a trick, a joke, a ruse? You're telling me college education sucks now? You're telling me colleges? I mean, you're attacking colleges themselves. You're taking away their funding. Even your administration is looking at colleges going, these places suck. But yet you still have a government that's going, yeah, we still want to send you to them as long as you owe us money. As long as you're indebted to us for the rest of your life. Because let's face it, folks, the one way to keep you down, keep you subservient, is to put you in financial hardship. I mean, it's tried and tested throughout the years, throughout the centuries. And that's what this is. That's what this is. Let's continue. 45% of the gap between black students and white students is from student loans for graduate school. Holy crap. 40% of black graduates have student loan debt from graduate school, while only 22% of white college graduates have graduate school debt. Why is that? Okay. White people do make more money than black people as a whole in the United States of America. We can say that. The white kids get preference for student loans when it comes to graduate school? Or they just have better networking, better connections, better whatever? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but there's got to be a reason for that statistical gap. All right. I've studied statistics for a long, long time. There's usually a reason. And I'm sure if you dig into it, there's going to be a reason somewhere, somehow, some way. Over 50% of black student borrowers report their net worth is less than they owe in student loan debt. Imagine that. You graduated from college. Yeah, a few years later, you got your job. Maybe you live in an apartment, you got a roommate, maybe 2 roommates, 3 roommates, it happens. You're like, okay, what's your net worth? My net worth is this. Okay, you're underwater. You're literally underwater. What does that mean? You owe more than you're worth. It's like it's like owning a house that's worth less than the mortgage that you owe on it. You have a $300,000 mortgage on a house that's only worth $200,000. Why? Shit goes sideways sometimes. And, again, the scam. Monthly student loan payments for associate's degree by race. Black people have to pay $258 on average for their associate's degree, for their student loans each month after they graduate. 2 or more races, $215, white, $215, Asian, $197, Hispanic, $188. Good for the Hispanics, all right. Rock on. But there's obviously a racial issue here. What it is, I don't know. I mean, I could see the statistics. I just know that there's something really unfair going on here. It's obviously worth a look. Black student borrowers owe the highest monthly payments. Black student borrowers with an associate's degree are the most likely to have monthly payments of $258. Black student borrowers with a bachelor's degree are the most likely to have monthly payments of $386. Let me ask you this. When you started up right out of college, whether you're an old man like me with a job, you've well-founded, well-situated life, or you're starting out right now, do you think you'd want to pay? I mean, could you survive paying almost $400 a month out of your monthly? You say, okay, well, you need a car, okay, car payment. You need insurance, okay, insurance payment. You got rent, okay. All right, well, now you get this $400. Well, do I get to eat this month? No. No eating for you. You can take on a second job, third job, fourth job. And yeah, sometimes you can take on a second job because of hardship. There have been times in my life early on with kids, I took on a second job. It sucked. I had to work in a full-time job and working almost another 3/4 full-time job. It sucked. You do what you have to do to make ends meet. But it shouldn't be like this. It shouldn't be this hard. It shouldn't be this hard. So the idea that student loans are going to go into collection default, first of all, bad timing because, by the way, we're not hiring anymore. Again, let me bring up this article, and I saved this article just so we can tie it in. From the Wall Street Journal, corporate America is leaving more jobs unfilled. We stopped hiring. Stopped hiring. And we're not, for real jobs, right? Not the, hey, do you want fries with that? Not that, you want to work the fry counter, you make good money, you happy? Good, glad. I'm just saying most people who go to college and get a degree don't do that. Don't want to do that for a living. They want to get a college degree for a different reason. Most employers aren't laying off workers, but many will pause hiring while the trade war plays out. So we've got a trade war. We've got a stock market that doesn't know what the fuck to do with itself. We've got companies out there that don't know what to do, whether it's hiring, not hire, freeze hire. They have no clue. Tariffs are getting slapped on in the middle of the night for no reason, no reason that we can friggin' discern. It's all over the place. Tariffs are on, tariffs are off. We have the most bipolar, manic, depressive economy I've ever seen in my life. And I was born in the Carter years. The economy sucked then. I went through the Reagan years. I went through the 90s boom. I went through the recession with the first George Bush. I went through the internet bubble burst and the slight tech bubble burst and that sort of slight recession with Clinton. I went through the Great Recession in 2008 where you didn't know what the hell was going to go. They were saying ATMs are going to stop spitting out money in a couple of days. Literally, that was the thing. They were like, ATMs are going to stop working all around the world. There's not going to be any more money. I've been through all that. And this economy is it's getting pinballed around, ping-ponged up and down. It has no idea what to do. So most major U.S. employers are starting to take a new approach to jobs. Hire less or not at all. Oh, I know you signed on the dotted line for all those student loans for the degree that we told you needed to get the good job that you needed to live the American dream. But again, the American dream isn't really what we really advertised it as. Because no matter what, you got your degree. You got nowhere to go with it. You got no job. Good luck. Can we have our money back now? Somehow this is Mafia-like. It literally is loan shark-like. It really almost has that type of feel to it. It's almost loan shark-like. We're going to F up the economy and then we're going to tell you to give our money back. And again, if any of this makes sense to anybody else out there, please let me know in the comment section because it doesn't make sense to me. And could we pause student loans for another couple of years till we get out of this trade war, till we figure out what's going on with the real economy, if we figure out where we're at, if we can figure out if we're actually in a recession or not, which we are in a recession. Maybe we should just, pause it. It wasn't hurting anybody. By the way, no one was paying their student loans for years during the pandemic. Did anybody's taxes go up? No. Did you get a special letter in the mail saying, hey, we know you didn't go to college. We know you already paid off your student loans, but we need a little handout here from you extra to help out these people over here that are hurting. Anybody get that letter? Anybody get that tax? I didn't. Am I the only one? Didn't happen to me. So, T. Rowe Price is slowing hiring. Oh, T. Rowe Price, great. Business. JetBlue is reducing non-essential hiring. I don't know what non-essential hiring means. I figured if you have a job that needs to be filled, it's essential. If you don't have an essential job, then you shouldn't have the job in the first place. Okay, so that one's a little weird to me, but JetBlue, again, non-essential hiring. Polaris, which makes off-road vehicles, has paused some hiring for now. And more than a dozen universities from Harvard to Duke have enacted hiring freezes. Universities employ a lot of people. It's not just professors, researchers, staffing, all that. Human resources, counseling, psychologists, medical staff, sports staff. You know, you love Notre Dame football? Guess what? Someone needs to work there to sell you a hot dog. No, we're not hiring those people either. All the organizations and many more say bringing in fewer employees will help them cut costs and weather a turbulent moment. Quote, we've instituted our recessionary playbook. Robert Mack, chief financial officer of Polaris, told investors last week, citing a downturn in its industry. Are we in a recession? All right, we had 1 quarter of negative growth. We have every company out there in the world that looks like they're acting like it's a recession. Do we wait for a 2nd quarter of negative growth so it's official? I guess we can. But folks, it's a recession. A stop-start trade war, that's an interesting way to put it. Sinking customer confidence and dramatic cuts to federal funding and education. By the way, the biggest employer in the United States is the federal government. So we started slashing all that. Granted, Doge found a lot of good stuff that should be slashed. But when you start cutting employment and then going, hey, too bad, so sad. Okay, I get it. Here's the thing. Everybody says Trump's this great businessman, and you just might be. But when you start really thinking about it, and I was in business for 20 years. The people in business and the people who run businesses, people below them, and the lower you get, the more this becomes true. You're not people. You're not individuals. You're not human beings. You're a resource. You're nameless, faceless. You're a number. You're a product. You're a consumable. So we have a businessman running the federal government. Great, fine. Guess what? He doesn't look at employment the same way as you or I do. We look at it as necessary. He looks at it as something that can be toggled up and down as far as how to make things more profitable. Okay, great, fine. If that's the way we're going to run government, then you better make some other exceptions somewhere down the road with other things because people are going to start losing jobs, which they have. There's always a give and take. There's always a give and take in business. There always going to be. All right. You can cut one thing, but you got to make a stance somewhere else. All right. You can say, I don't want to spend this money over here, and I've got to tighten up over here, but it means I got to start taking care of other things. During earnings call over the past 2 weeks, companies big and small shied away from mentioning layoffs, but repeatedly said they would be more cautious before bringing in new workers. Quote, we anticipate a slower pace of hiring for the rest of the year, said Sarah Glickman, Chief Financial Officer at advertising technology company Criteo. Others, including Union Pacific Railroad, railroads, that's not essential in the United States. No problem. We don't need the railroads. Insurance broker Marsh McLennan and financial services firm Invesco warned they could reduce hiring if necessary or keep roles unfilled if the economy worsens. The downside scenario is, yes, we have levers to pull, said John Doyle. See, that's what I mean, levers to pull. I used to have to do it myself. Sales are down. Pull the payroll lever. What does that mean? The people all below me get reduced hours. But they have bills to pay. Too bad, so sad. They have families to feed. Too bad, so sad. I was giving you 40 hours a week for 6 months straight, and I guess what I can't do is I got to give you 20 hours a week. Go get another job. Go get another part-time job. Do what you can. But that's how business acts. That's how business works. But yet now we're going to tell these people who are coming out of college that can't find a job, all right, that have a hard time getting into the economy, start paying me money. How are they going to live? I really do feel bad for the youngest generation right now coming out of college. I really do. I really, really do. Normally I don't. Normally I'm the callous, unempathetic bastard that I am. But when I see stuff like this, I'm going, this is going to suck, and it's going to have long-term effects on a lot of things. The jobs report on Friday showed that employers added 177,000 jobs in April, a surprisingly strong number, considering the tariff uncertainty that has roiled markets. Jobs in healthcare and finance helped shore up hiring. Great. But guess what? A lot of those 177,000 jobs are part-time jobs. That's the thing. Whenever you hear that we've added this many jobs, you dig into the numbers. It's like, okay, it's people working 2 part-time jobs to equal 1 full-time job. And again, that's not sustainable as a society, as a life. That's just, again, it just doesn't work that way. President Trump recently extended a government-wide federal hiring freeze through mid-July. Many federal workers who hope to get hired by state and local governments have been disappointed. I saw that myself. With a lot of people coming out of college that I knew that had degrees in politics, international relations, things like that, want to go work for the State Department, work in embassies, work in things like that. And they were like, yeah, we're ready to go. This is what we work towards. Nope, sorry. Let me ask you this. Where do most people who get degrees and things like that go to work? Governments. Well, if the government says we're not hiring, okay, well, those are real degrees, right? Those aren't bullshit degrees. Where do they go? They go nowhere. They go to McDonald's. Nothing against McDonald's. So that's my rant on student loans. Again, I think it's bad timing. I think with the economy, there's a lot of bad things happening. There's a lot of bad signs. It's just when an economy doesn't know stability or has stability, bad things happen. All right, we're flying by the seat of our pants when it comes to the economy, but that's what it is.